Producing content, not easy. Creating a business plan to reach the masses, even harder. That's why Good To Go Media is hosting Collab Media and Film in Redlands, California, this September 8 and 9, where you, the content creator, can learn all about business plans, distribution, legal guidelines, and more. Presenters like Mark Butler and Randy Jameson will walk you through the tough parts of the content creation process. And if you need a financial boost for your project, the event is having a pitch competition where you can receive a prize of up to $20,000 to bring your ideas to life. Go to goodtogomedia.org to register and use code DISRUPTIVE for 20% off your ticket. Again, goodtogomedia.org, discount code DISRUPTIVE.
You're listening to Disruptive Adventism, a podcast about community, conversation, and conflict, where your ideas, traditions, and practices can be analyzed and changed. My name is Jose Briones, and I invite you to listen, to learn, and to live a life of purpose and disruption. Welcome back, everyone. In today's show, we are going to go over the topic of chaplaincy. We have started a series on chaplaincy, and we're going to be exploring the different areas that chaplaincy gives us. So today, we're going to be focusing on the topic of hospital chaplaincy, and we have invited a hospital chaplain himself to talk about this very important topic. His name is Jamie Ricketts, and Jamie's here with us. How's it going, Jamie?
Doing good. Glad to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
We're really excited to talk about this topic. We're really thankful that you have taken the time. It's a very important topic. And within Adventism, we have a lot of hospital systems.
We do, yeah.
So it's important to talk about this. So before we get started into the topic, into a deep dive, help us and give us a little bit more about your info. What's your bio? Where you're from? And what are you doing right now?
So I am, I'll start off what I'm doing right now. I'm currently in the seminary. I'm set to graduate May 2019. So I've come a long way here. I actually did my undergrad here at Andrews University. I started in 2009 studying theology, undergrad theology. And that kind of just led me on my journey through ministry and how I got involved into chaplaincy. It's kind of a interesting story. You know, I went to school just to focus straightforward on doing pastoral ministry. But I had a friend, one of my deans here, who happened to be a hospital chaplain. And I was working for him at that time as an RA. And he kind of interested me into this world of chaplaincy. I never really understood what it was until actually having conversations with him. And he kind of shared with me what the ministry was about, sitting and being with people, having a presence with people within the hospital. And it was that time I kind of garnered an interest, and he kind of pushed me to apply to Florida Hospital's chaplaincy program. And that's how I kind of got involved back in 2013.
Okay. So you were a student here, and then you were here first for pastoral ministry at Andrews, right? Yeah. And then you kind of went into hospital chaplaincy. Yeah. Now, how was that transition from, kind of having a mindset of I'm going to go to a church to I'm going to go to a hospital?
You know, it was kind of interesting because I never really knew what chaplains did in the hospital. I always heard that pastors would go into hospitals to pray with patients from time to time, and I thought that was just like an occasional thing. I never really thought of chaplains or ministers having their complete ministry taking place in a hospital. So it was kind of interesting, a learning curve for me. I ended up actually volunteering at a local hospital back home where I'm from in Canada. And that's when it kind of just sparked my interest even more. Just shadowing with a chaplain there. He kind of took me under his wing and he showed me what it was like to really be a chaplain, going to each patient's room, visiting with them, praying with them. Also just sharing various sermons to people who are in need at that time. And really, it was just really different from me than a conventional pastor per se, of a weekly basis preaching or having a parish. I kind of focused in on my my time with that chaplain as this hospital. He always says, this hospital is my parish. This is my ministry right here. Every staff member, every person that comes through the doors, this is my parish, and this is who I take care of. This is the flock I feed. And it was kind of interesting to me to find that.
When you said the idea of what do chaplains do, I kind of resonate with that, because the reality is, like, I've been into hospitals.
Yeah.
But I really don't know what chaplains do. Like, it's really, really interesting. So give us a little bit glimpse. You went to Florida Hospital.
Yeah.
So, and you were a chaplain there.
Yeah.
You're still going back there to be a chaplain now in 2019, now in May. And how is that? What do chaplains do in there every day?
Do? So I'll say it in one phrase like this, and this is what I've learned through my time. A hospital chaplain specializes in a ministry of presence. We are not, our focal point is not going to proselytize somebody in a sense. We are there to sit with people through good times, bad times, horrible times in their lives, whatever situation. We are there to just provide a ministry of presence. And it's kind of amazing that I can go to my job and just, and we say something in Florida Hospital, like we extend the healing ministry of Jesus Christ. I can go to my job and just really, I don't have the pressure on my back to really, push my theology or per se on somebody. I'm able to just live my life out in the way that Jesus Christ would want me to be. And that's just sitting with people, crying with people. And if it does come to the time, ministering to people in a way that, they may ask me about my faith, and I'm able to share my faith with them. So it's kind of a unique ministry that I feel the freedom to just be myself and to really sit and be with people in their greatest time of need.
You've had the opportunity to shadow a chaplain in Canada.
Yeah.
And also be able to be a chaplain here in the United States.
Yeah.
Is there a difference between the countries into how it's done? Let it be a religious difference, or the things that you can share, the things that you cannot say, because you're saying that it is a ministry of presence.
Yeah.
Not necessarily a ministry of proselytizing.
Yeah.
So how is it different in both countries? Is there a big difference, or is there not?
I would like to say maybe the big difference is between the different hospital systems. So I was in shadowing in what you consider maybe a secular hospital. It had a Catholic background, but it was more of it was run, because in Canada, they just run their hospital systems from a secular perspective, which is not bad. But now, having my job where I work now at Florida Hospital, I'm able to share my faith. I'm able to pray with people, but I wouldn't say there's a big difference, because in my time shadowing in Canada, we were able to pray. We were able to express our faith openly. It wasn't anything shunned on. It wasn't anything holding us back. There was no barriers to say, but I would say it's the difference is I'm now working in an Adventist facility. So
when you're saying that, it's an Adventist facility, walk me through an everyday, just a regular day of what were your responsibilities, what are going to be your responsibilities as you walk into the hospital. Okay.
So my time when I was doing my residency over at Florida Hospital, I was working in the children's hospital. And an everyday experience for me, I would get there in the morning. I would actually go to the surgery wing, and I'd pray with the patients. I would offer prayer to the patients that are about to go in for surgery. And I'll just go room to room and just kind of just sit with them, talk with them, because a lot of patients are really nervous at that time. So I'm able to just really just be there, just to support them. And some patients throughout that time, praying with them, I'll say, "Hey, I'm going to come back and visit you later after the surgery, or come a couple of days later." But that would start off my day. Then I actually went and met with the doctors and the nurses as they're about to begin their rounds. And it was kind of unique in this position, as if any of you guys know anything about rounding, when they go from room to room, the doctors will go and they'll say, like, this is this patient's prognosis, this is what they're going through. And they ask each doctor that may have a specialty in that field, and they go through and ask them, and they give their notes on what this patient's going through. And so often they would come and turn to me and they'll be like, "Hey, Chap, what's your prognosis of this person's spiritual need?" And certain times I was able to give my perspective on maybe what I see this patient maybe going through, and also the doctors would turn to me and say, hey, I feel like this is a good patient that you can minister to or sit with, and I'll take their advice and go and sit with them. And other times I really just I guess later portions of the day I'll actually sit and sit with the doctors and just be with them. I never knew until taking this job what doctors really go through. Some doctors are really under some stressful situations, because sometimes they feel like, they are taking a person's life into their hands, and they sometimes feel the immense pressure of having to deliver good results. And sometimes it's a toll on them when they lose patients. So I'm just there to just really sit with them through that time, and also just to help them go through their everyday. So that's some of what I've done in my residency. I know when I go back to full-time chaplaincy, I will also meet with the executives, or meet with the CEOs, or every hospital official. And what I will be is basically the chaplain or pastor to my hospital. And yeah, everybody that comes through the door, that's who I minister to.
You mentioned that you were in the children's division.
Yeah.
How is that different? A child going to the hospital. I remember being in the hospital as a child, and it's a traumatizing experience.
It is. I
think as an adult, you kind of, I don't want to say you get used to it, but it's like, okay, I'm in the hospital. I understand what this means, but a child doesn't. What were some of your interactions with children? If you can share, of course, there's a degree of confidentiality.
Yeah.
So what were some of the interactions that you had?
I will say it's tough, but also it was an amazing experience for me. I'll tell you, I've worked a lot of jobs in my life, and working for the Children's Hospital, it didn't feel like a job. It felt really amazing to just be with the children. And something that I kind of took to my ministry as I was ministering with the children is my own childhood experience. I grew up watching different superheroes. I like Spider-Man, Superman, Batman, and a lot of kids will come in with their various toys that they like, and I used that medium as a way to connect with them, because in that time when they're in the hospital, they look to their heroes. They look to certain figures that they watch on TV. So in a way, I would use that figure. I might see a child clutching a Spider-Man toy, and I'll kind of turn to them and ask them, how's Spider-Man doing or feeling with you in this point in time? And in a way, I kind of use that to translate towards Jesus as the ultimate superhero. So I would kind of say, how are you feeling? I'll get in touch with their feelings, and also minister with the parents as well during this time. But it was kind of an experience where I was able to really, really share with the kids. It's kind of, I'm trying not to go across HIPAA violations, but yeah, really my experience there, in a nutshell, I can say that it was a unique experience to really sit with children during their time of need.
Yeah, I can definitely see how, maybe like playing with them and telling them, or maybe like distracting them from like the reality of their pain towards maybe projecting it towards their toys, and maybe using that as a way to, of course, relate to Jesus, relate to Christianity, relate to Bible concepts. Yeah. Can be hard.
Yeah, it can be hard.
But it can be very powerful as well.
Yeah.
So what is the biggest difference between ministering or being present with adults and with children, in your opinion?
So ministering with adults, and I'll say my experience with ministering with adults is a little bit different. Are you talking like ministering to adult patients within the hospital?
Yeah.
Okay, so the difference is, man, the difference I would say is that for a child, sometimes they may not know why they're in the hospital. And it almost brings a sense of innocence to what they're going through. Whereas adults, they may know what they're going through. They know what they're in the hospital for, which as well brings its own sense of stress. So I find, when sitting with children, man, they're just innocent. They don't know what they're going through. They know that they're sick, but we're able to, talk with them about their feelings, and so on and so forth. With adult patients too, I'm able to sit and talk with their feelings about what they're going through.
That sounds interesting to me. I think that definitely there is a little bit of a difference in the cognition, of the patient.
Mm-hmm.
Share with me a little bit of something that I've learned about chaplains is that they do these infamous, at least for me, it's such a tedious work, the verbatims.
Yeah. Man.
To me, they were very, very infamous when I did them for class. It's just like very detailed. And I'm like, man, I need to include so much. Share with me, what are those? Maybe some people are not aware of what verbatims are and how they help you to understand the person better.
Yeah. So, I'll just share my experience, starting doing verbatims in my residency program. My first verbatim, I'd say it was really difficult because I didn't know what to really put on the paper. I just kind of wrote down my experience. But my CP supervisor said, no, I want more. And really, just to walk through what a verbatim is you're basically talking about your experience that you may have had on a visit to a particular patient's room. And you're highlighting everything that kind of really stood out to you. So for instance, in a verbatim, I'm highlighting what the situation may be. And I'm also highlighting my feelings towards the situation. So when a patient may be reflecting or talking back to me, I will say, I'm feeling sad, or I'm feeling sorrowful. I'm thinking that, I might get teary-eyed in this moment. And I'm also just walking through the different body language that a person may be expressing, because ironically enough, we speak in many different ways more than just verbally. We speak with our body language. So it kind of helps me in a way to now really study a person or focus on a person in everything that they're showing me when I'm in the room. So it actually heightens my ability to really focus and pinpoint a person's need. So verbatims are amazing. And, man, I really recommend people do that more often. I mean, verbatims are a really, really useful thing.
Just to kind of, maybe give you a practical verbatim scenario will be you sit down with a person and then you write down afterwards everything that you remember about that conversation.
Yeah.
So I think that's a very useful tool. Yeah. Because it allows you to think, allows you to kind of understand the person, the things that you just went through. So I definitely think that those are very helpful. When it comes to chaplaincy, and especially in the hospital setting, it's different than military or education. Because the patients are very vulnerable. The patients are there, and it's a very difficult situation. Mm-hmm. Who chaplains you?
Man, who chaplains me? That's a very good question. I would say in my time in residency, we had a good group of fellow chaplains. I turned to them for advice. I turned to them for ministry needs. They were really a good, strong support group in whatever struggles I'd go through. Secondly to that, also, I really took advantage of counseling during my time through residency. And when I go back, I will really take advantage of counseling, because it is a unique and tough job at times, and it's so easy to take that stuff home with you. So I will go to counseling as a way to really talk about my feelings and work through some of my difficulties that I may be experiencing on the job.
We'll be right back with more Disruptive Adventism. You have an idea. You want to tell it to the world, but you don't know where to start. That's where Anchor comes in. They have the tools for you to edit, produce, and record your idea
right from your phone or computer. It's the easiest way to reach and grow your audience. They publish for you to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and all major platforms. And to top it all off, they match you with advertisers so you can earn from your passion and your wonderful idea. So tell me, what are you waiting for? Download the Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started and follow your dream.
As people in general, we have a discomfort with death nowadays.
Yeah.
You know, our background, like if we kind of look into history, we can see that people used to deal with death very differently than we do today.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the main things was the participation of being with the sick.
Mm-hmm.
You know, nowadays we kind of put them in hospitals or hospice care, like, you know, parents. But how do you suggest us to start kind of re-engaging with sickness, with death, with hospitals in a positive sense as a church or as people in general, that we're not afraid of death, but that we understand that it's a natural process of life?
Well, I think is the last part what you just said. It is a natural part of life. And you know, something like really big reason why I really do chaplaincy is because a lot of the people that are sick and dying, sometimes they don't have any family members that are near them. And with that said too, there are some family members that really struggle with death. So they kind of start to move away from the patient gradually. So, and I think your question was, you were saying, how should we as a church
face? How can, as people, re-engage with those who are sick, those who are dying?
Yeah.
You know, it's usually very easy for us to say they're dying, just let them in the hospital, leave them.
Yeah.
But how can we interact more with chaplains or with the hospitals in order to make a positive impact, even for those who may be departing from, you know, and by departing, I mean, you know, not being living anymore.
Yeah. Well, you know, something that I've grown to understand, that it's a phase of life, birth through the different stages that you go through your life, going to school, getting married, all these different stages in life. Death is a stage that, you know, we will all eventually come to. And how the church can really take notice to this is really maybe going to your local hospital, saying, you know, how can I be of help to somebody maybe dying? There's a lot of people that die alone, and it's really tough, and it's sad that people die this way, die alone. So I think people can really visit people in the hospital, sit with them, and just be present with them in their time of need. It's not only a chaplain's job. I think it's everybody's job, because we all experience tragedy. We all experience death, and we feel it.
I think you make a very important point, and maybe a little bit more to add to that is that I remember one experience, you know, back home, where my great aunt, she was sick, she was, you know, dying, and something that was very encouraged at the time for my family to do is to go and visit and spend time with her. In front of the hospital, of course. Like, you know, she was in terminal stage at this point, and sometimes it's very easy for us to not take care of those who are dying.
Yeah.
Just because we say, well, they're going to die anyway.
Yeah.
But I think putting ourselves in the shoes of that person, and like you said, dying in community is different than dying alone.
Yes. Yeah.
It makes a big difference when you have a community that's there for you, even in your last hours. And I think that's something that we need to definitely reevaluate, and we need to reengage in this space. Well, Jamie, thank you very much. We're kind of getting into this last section of the podcast when it comes to hospital chaplaincy. And I would like to get one more thing from you. And that is, if someone is right now, you know, you came as a theology major to Andrews, and maybe it was a hard decision for you to change this. But if somebody's like struggling or maybe not understanding the calling to ministry that they may have, what would you recommend for someone that is maybe thinking, listening, maybe is in theology right now, or maybe it's not, you know, maybe it's just considering a career change? why is it important that we consider chaplaincy as a career for, ministry?
Man, why we should consider chaplaincy as a valuable career. Man, the reason why I would say that, and I go back to what I said before, it's a ministry of presence. I really think that people being present with people through their most needed times is something that I think we should take advantage of. We should really focus on being with people, and especially people in the hospital. It's a unique ministry. I recommend that everybody, at least if you get a chance, if you're feeling like you want to do this ministry, at least go and see if you can volunteer at a local hospital. Do a couple hours, see what it's like to shadow a chaplain. I know Florida Hospital does that. I know many other local hospitals do that. And if you feel like, this was a good thing, I think that maybe you should think about going into residency, because I'd say this: chaplaincy has really changed my life. My residency experience was amazing because I became more in touch with myself. I became more in touch with my feelings, even my feelings about death. I mean, I too fear death. I'm now coming to more of a grips that this is something that we all experience. But there's so much more in chaplaincy that I can't even probably just say all in this podcast here. But I would recommend just anybody who's having an inclining towards doing this ministry, just get involved. Maybe start a ministry at your local church where you can go and visit patients in the hospital, pray with them, sit with them, and just get to know them.
Thanks a bunch for that, and we really appreciate what you're saying, and I think it's very important. As it is our custom here at Disruptive Adventism, we like to give the final word to our guest. So tell us, what's the final word on chaplaincy?
So I'd like to say the final word on chaplaincy. I've said it multiple times in this podcast. It's a ministry of presence, and I think it's an opportunity for all of us to just get involved and be present with our fellow human beings.
You've been listening to Disruptive Adventism. We hope that today's topic helped you to think and change something about your practices, about your faith, about your Adventism. If you want to subscribe, make sure to go to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play, or wherever you get your podcast. We'll be there. And make sure to give us a review if you like what you're listening to. If you want to support, make sure to go to patreon.com/disruptiveadventism. It helps us pay our bills and produce the content that you're listening to. And if you want to socialize, make sure to like us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram or on Twitter, and hit us up whenever you need anything. We'll be there to support you. Thank you for listening today. We hope you join us next time. And as always, we invite you to be disruptive.